Good morning. Well, on behalf of my company, I'd like to thank the World Knowledge Forum for having me, and I appreciate you being here. The room is full, so I expect you're here because this is a very, very important topic. I know it says I'm going to argue some points. I'm not. My intention is to leave you with some very important thought bubbles here and concepts around what is going on in the cybersecurity industry. In just 25 minutes today, hackers can extract all of your personal data. They can get inside your businesses and they can remove data, personal records and information they've been looking for in far shorter time than they've ever been able to. We are all on the front lines. In fact, whether you choose to be or not, we are here to protect our organizations, and I suspect you're here because you're aware that something fundamental is changing. While diplomats and governments are out there debating trade policies, defending against the United States enforcing policy everywhere, central banks changing and adjusting interest rates, there's a very, very different kind of economic war that is being waged across all of our organizations, across all the citizens of the nations that, whether you're here in Korea or from some other country, we are constantly under attack. Here are some numbers. This $5.2 million is actually not a coincidence. Last year, across Asia Pacific and Japan, ransom demands ranged from $2.7 million to $5.2 million, some as high as $75 million. Here's what really should capture your attention. These aren't random numbers. Adversaries are now employing economists, analysts, and they are calculating the just perfect amount that an organization is potentially willing to pay in a ransomware situation. They have public available data, they're doing homework on every organization, and they are coming in with their ransoms at a level that they believe is materially ineffective, or at a level that an organization will pay right out of the gates. They are right-sizing their attacks in the hope that the organization will pay the money and move on. It's not extortion in their minds, it's optimism. They found a sweet spot where paying becomes a very rational business decision. This is the reality that we have to confront together. It's not an individual organizations trying to defend their own perimeters. It's an ecosystem now. It's a shared challenge. If you were in the opening session yesterday, you would have heard from the former Prime Minister of Canada talk about resilience. Well, it's resilience and collaboration in my mind. We have to come together because this is what the adversary does every single day. 5 days now. From the first attack to exfiltration, it used to be 6 months to 9 months, where the adversary would come into an organization, they would sit and they would wait patiently. Now, it's approximately 5 days. We are seeing attacks now that are in minutes. The 25 minutes I gave you before is actually the reality. Our Unit 42 threat intelligence team, using AI, built a ransomware attack, exfiltrated data. They were in and they were gone in 25 minutes. Quicker than I will be able to finish this presentation. Today, 19% of the cases that we're seeing from our threat intelligence team are taking less than an hour. Less than an hour to compromise, take the data and go. So the reality is our organizations are not equipped to move at the pace of which the adversary is moving. The stats are, it takes 9 months from a breach to cleaning up the breach. 9 months. If you think about what that means for your organization, go back to the 25 minutes, the adversary's in and out in 25 minutes, and it's going to take you another 9 months to clean everything up. They're in and gone before our morning meetings are completed. So this is not a technology problem, just a technology problem. This is actually a problem with the way that we work. enemies, our adversaries, are not sitting in sessions like this. They are not sitting in committee meetings. They don't sit in board meetings. One person decides, the entire operation pivots, and they move. Yet for our organisations, we have approval chains, we have governance, we have compliance, we have all these things. Critically important to how we run our organisations, but when you bring it into the cybersecurity context, we are not moving fast enough. Even our critical patch cycles in the IT teams take too long to defend. We are not in a state today where it is about find it and fix it. And that is the fundamental shift that our industry needs to make, and we are trying to make as an organisation. I said, these adversaries are not sitting around waiting. They aren't waiting for the Korean government to finish the legislation on privatisation and cybersecurity laws. They don't sit in a meeting and say, you know what, I realise they're working on the policy. We're going to leave them alone and go to some other country. They're coming no matter what. Recently I spoke with a CISO who was proudly talking about the way they were deploying artificial intelligence inside their organisation. But at no point had they talked about security. They spent 4 months doing a committee review around the deployment of AI technologies, and security was not central to that conversation. It was all about the capacity and capability of AI and what that could do for the organisation. And this is the CISO. The responsibility of that person is the security of the organisation. So we have to change the way we think. We have to be honest with the way we think about the work that we do today as it relates to cybersecurity and, of course, this fever pitch moment around artificial intelligence. I want to bring you close to home. Thousands of North Korean IT workers have legitimate access to Western corporate networks. I know you're aware of this. This has been reported by the FBI. These workers are extorting approximately $600 million US annually. Think about that for the moment. These people are exfiltrating organisations. Their wages are being funded by Western orgs, and the money's going back to North Korea. They're unknowingly funding this activity. But what concerns us is how do we change our position? How do we change our defensive position when these threats are no longer just coming from the outside, they're coming from the inside as well? This is a real example. This is a fake LinkedIn post, a picture of an IT worker from North Korea. Last month, our threat intelligence team was called to respond to a threat that we thought had state-level capabilities. It was far more chilling than that. The initial access came from a developer account, a fake developer account, that had 8 months of tenure, glowing reviews about the quality of the code contributions of this account. The person never existed. These are all AI-generated documents, deep fake interviews, a complete digital footprint and identity for 8 months. And this was built by state-sponsored efforts. This is the reality we're living in today. The boundaries between legitimate insider threat, external threat, they've completely dissolved. Nation states are not just attacking businesses, they're joining our businesses to get access inside the organisation. We need to protect ourselves against these things, the legitimate and the illegitimate. So, AI. My talk is all not bad news, by the way. Let's talk honestly about artificial intelligence. There hasn't been a session in the last 24 hours where we haven't talked about AI. There's not a single customer meeting that I go to. There's not a single press interview that I've done in the last 24 hours where the question comes about AI. What are you doing about AI? How are you working on securing AI? The AI threat is real. The AI opportunity is equally as real. The good news is as much as the adversary is using AI, we have the opportunity to use AI as a defense mechanism against these adversaries. So it's not just creating new attacks, it's creating faster, cheaper capabilities at scale to be able to defend against the adversary. So, as I said, what took hours is now taking minutes. That's on the attack side, but it's also the same dynamic on the defense side. We recently acquired a company called Protect AI. We closed that acquisition about a month ago. They are uncovering critical flaws throughout automated analysis inside organizations that are building large language models. They're building and deploying AI-powered systems. Protect AI is allowing us to detect threats ahead of time using traditional and non-traditional techniques. The clock is still ticking though. We have to move faster and faster. These compressed timelines that AI is bringing for the adversary is also bringing compression timelines for us around decision making. So there's a mismatch, as I said, between our governance cycles, our internal policies, our decision making, and how quickly we deploy these technologies and ensure that everything is secure by design. Of course, we still need quarterly planning cycles. We have to continue to plan well, but we have to test and continue to retest the thinking around the way we're deploying our defense mechanisms against this new evolved attack. We have to evolve the way we think. We have to bring a new tempo to the organization around the way we secure and deploy. There was a huge attack, 3CX. I'm sure if you have any security background, you'd be aware of this. You understand that there's thousands of organizations were compromised. The attackers actually didn't break down doors. They opened them because we handed them the keys. It was a fundamental shift in a supply chain attack where thousands of companies individually, through one vendor, thousands of organizations were compromised. The numbers are sobering. Here's some of the numbers. SolarWinds attack, this is quite a number of years ago, 18,000 organizations affected, 1,500 businesses, over 2,000 organizations' data was exposed. Each started with a single compromise. Again, the attacks continue to get big. They're fast. As I said, they're now minutes, not days. The traditional threat was an adversary would wait patiently, sit, they would learn, and then they would exfiltrate the data. Now, again, as I said, it's shifted. And I'm going to bring you to a new concept. Adversarial AI. Imagine all of your AI systems that you are deploying are now compromised. The adversary is in, they are making changes to the way your models are running inside the organization. They're marking malicious files as your fraud detection systems are approving suspicious transactions. And your content filters are blocking legitimate communications. Our researchers and a number of universities in the laboratories have been discovering these techniques that the adversary again is using today. It's becoming a math problem. It's a matter of time, and the reality is we're now seeing weaponized AI deployments inside organizations that are already compromised. Adversarial AI works this way. Attackers poison the training data. The models appear to function perfectly until it encounters a trigger. Once that trigger is hit, and those trigger conditions are met, they start deploying malware inside the organization. They start to manipulate facial recognition systems. They start to create attack sequences across the organizations. All of this is occurring with the AI models running inside the organization. Again, poison models, poison attacks, poison data that is being learned and trained with new adversarial techniques. So again, we need to rework the way we think about the standards for deployment of AI and ensure that it is secure by design. I talked about breach cost a little bit. So this is a large shipping company. The average breach today costs an organization about $5 million, whether it's healthcare, financial services, the numbers get staggeringly larger depending on the organization, but the averages mark the real economic story under these. The Colonial Pipeline paid $4.4 million US. The fuel shortages across the eastern United States were far greater and cost the country billions of dollars because of the fuel shortages. Merck paid millions of dollars in ransom, cost them $300 million to recover, but the global shipping lanes were crippled, costing billions of dollars in failed shipping. These are the consequences of these large breaches. The adversaries understand that. They leverage these. They, as I said in my opening, they learn, they use economists, they find out where the right level of financial gain is considered an easy business decision for an organization, and they attack. And this is how they go after the money. Global cyber insurance company is being crushed right now. They are pulling back from cybersecurity insurance because it's costing them literally billions of dollars. The Merck shipping one, they're up for, the insurance company is up for approximately $1.4 billion in payouts. So the industry is having a change. Not only are we making changes in the way we deploy security, the way we deploy AI, the way we change the decision-making processes inside the organization, you now start to see those that were supporting the industry now pulling back. The insurance industry is pulling out of this at a rapid pace because of what's changing in front of our very eyes. I'm actually very optimistic. I didn't come here to be, of course, invited to be a motivational speaker. This is a very, very serious topic, but I feel very genuinely confident that we have the ability to change our defense stance against the adversary. This image behind me, which I've used a few times, is my image for collaboration. Just 3 weeks ago, we held a financial services conference in another country. 12 CIOs from financial organizations came into the room. They all live in the same city. They all work in the same industry. And 10 out of 12 met for the first ever time. 3 weeks ago. That is the problem of our industry. The adversary, on the other hand, collaborates rapidly. They take the tools and techniques, and if they can redeploy them, they will. But we have historically not collaborated together, and we need to come together. Cybersecurity is not a competitive advantage. Cybersecurity is a problem halved, which is shared and halved, and if we come together and we collaborate, I believe we can solve this problem. But we have to be willing to come to forums like this. We have to be willing to talk to each other about what's going on. I recently met with some of the CEOs here in this city that have been involved in some of the compromises. And I asked the question if they had picked up the phone to their opposite number in the other organization. Have you called the CIO of that other company and shared with them what's going on? And they hadn't. And I encourage them to do so. Organizations are victims as much as others are. And we need to learn and get faster. So my optimism is growing because organizations are sharing. We at Palo Alto Networks share data with many other organizations. We share our threat intelligence data every single day with organizations. We share them with governments, we share them with law enforcement, and we share them with other companies. Because we believe if the other company can do better with the data, we will learn from that and we will do better for our customers. So I believe that what's going to happen in this AI world is we are going to learn faster than the adversary because we're going to learn to collaborate and we're going to learn to share. And we're going to take that data and we build far greater defensive networks at a far greater pace than the adversary. And I believe that AI will favour the defence more than the attack. But again, we have to learn and we have to share. So, I'm very optimistic about where we're headed. I think AI is going to bring a dramatic reduction in how we get to customers and how we service customers. I think it's going to bring a dramatic reduction in fraud detection, fraud response, and how we build these trusted ecosystems of supply chains, because again, we will learn. We will become coordinated, we will become more collaborative, and we will build an incredible defense mechanism. But again, we have to come together, because this is the only way we are going to win in this world. So, 3 critical things that I'd like to just have you think about. And I'm going to leave you with some other points, and I have a question for you at the end. You need to be prepared today. If your organisation is not under attack, you are in peacetime. This is a peacetime moment. And the best time to build your defence capabilities is during peacetime, not in wartime when you're under attack. So, pre-authorised preparedness. Are you ready? If something happens, is your organisation ready to respond? Now, that could mean picking up the phone and calling an organisation like ours or another organisation that helps with incident response. But do you know what to do? So are you prepared? Do you have that pre-authorised response? Do you have real-time monitoring? You have to get to a state where you find it and fix it. Find the attack, stop the attack. Remember what I said? It's minutes now. If you cannot respond in minutes, you've already lost the race. So you need to be in a real-time mode. Find it, fix it. And strategic reviews. We have to have plans. I said we can't throw out the boardroom, we can't throw out governance, we can't throw out these things. They're critically important to the way the ecosystem of our business runs. But we've got to have constant strategic reviews. What are we doing monthly? What are we doing quarterly? And it's not just reviewing the technology deployed, it's understanding our systems, those pre-authorizations. Have we moved to a real-time monitoring mode? Do we know what happens? I think these are 3 very important success factors. This is a story that I like. This is a forward-thinking CISO who I know well. They change their policies. They recognize this shift in AI attacks and the use of AI and secure by design. Used to take 47 minutes. If there was an incident, the incident was escalated to the CISO, they would do their analysis and it would take 47 minutes for a decision to be made. It's too late. They've taken that now to 8 minutes. The average response time is an incident. They've automated, they've changed their policies around, red, orange, green. They know what their, the incidence levels look like. They have a clear understanding of what those look like. They've automated a lot of those things. They're now down to 8 minutes. So they're faster than the exfiltration time. The other important point, 71% of the incidents were escalated to breaches of it. That's how much it's dropped. Before there was so much escalation, they've now dropped that down by 71%. These are the sort of performances that every organisation needs to get to. So, 5 imperatives for you. We got to reorganise, and we have to recognise that there is an ecosystem here of organisations, not just technology companies that sell widgets. The cybersecurity industry has put most organisations in a position where you become the systems integrator. You buy a lot of technology, and it's your responsibility to integrate it. Now, you may be in electronics, banking, insurance, whatever it is, healthcare. We as an industry have to put you back in that business. So we have to show you that there is an ecosystem that can help support you. And that's partnerships. We don't do everything. Our organisation does not do everything in security. And no one from our company will tell you that. But we have incredible partnerships. And our partnerships come together to ultimately help solve the problem for your organisation. We have to get decision speed changed. Not just how quickly we deploy technology, but the decision speed. If you take that CISO example going from 47 minutes down to 8 minutes, we need to help the organization shift the way they make decisions. We have to design for compromise. We have to assume that the attacker is in. We have to assume that they are in your organization, that they have a foothold. So if we haven't stopped them at the door, and we assume they're in, we have to design for lateral movement. So we have to find them and stop them moving through the organization. And the only way we do that, we've got to get visibility across every segment of where your data resides. We have to help you invest in shared intelligence. Not just, again, this is not a one company solution. There are many organizations, incredible organizations around the world that have threat intelligence. We have to help bring all that data together and be able to stitch it together and create the analysis so that you have the shared intelligence. And we have to help you do that. And then the fifth point, which I made earlier, we have to collaborate. So hopefully you remember my banking example. 12 executives just 3 weeks ago. 10 of them had never met before in the same industry and in the same city. That needs to change. So if you don't know your peers, I would encourage you to find out who they are. So for every attack, defensive innovations emerge. This is why I'm optimistic about where we're going. It's not just about the technology, it's about how we learn. It's about the systems we build around it. It's about the speed of decision making, the speed of our response. AI, is no question, is detecting lots and lots of novel threats, changing cryptographic techniques, bringing behavioral analytics to organizations. But every time there's a small attack, there is a new defense innovation. So again, I'm very optimistic about where we're headed. So, that's 25 minutes, literally 25 minutes. While I've been up here, an organization has been attacked, data's gone, hopefully a ransom hasn't been paid, but it probably has. So the clock's ticking. So here are my questions I'd like to leave you with. What would happen in your company in the next 60 minutes? If you knew you were attacked, what would happen? The data's gone in 25. But in the next 60 minutes, you have to make a decision. Would your team have detected it? If they have detected it, what do you do? Are you ready? That's where we've got to get to. You can't sit in the boardroom pontificating about the decision-making process. You have to be ready and you have to make a decision. So, I ask you, the rules have changed. What would you do? Will you adapt? Will you come together? Will you collaborate? And will you move fast enough? I appreciate you being part of this critical conversation. I hope I've left you with enough understanding of the changing world out there, the pace at which this is going, and more importantly, the need to act upon it. Enjoy your conference. Thank you for having me.